has been stolen.
I was the best criminal in Norway.
Burglaries, smash and grab, thefts.
I always loved to play games.
Theft of this nature is so extraordinary.
This was myself I see in the painting. This was perfect.
The painting is said to be priceless.
You have to suck people into the trap.
The whole world is looking for you.
He was saying, you can't catch me.
It's my story.
Burnley are relegated from the Premier League.
This is a big ask for Vincent Kompany.
Come on! And we beat them. And we beat whatever comes after as well.
Sure non-stop protection. When you hit your limits, you work even harder. Sky Sports News, sponsored by Sure Non-Stop Protection.
Hello, welcome to Good Morning Transfers. Manchester City agree a deal for a new winger. We'll tell you everything you need to know about Jeremy Doku. With 10 days to go in the window, we're asking you for your top 10 signings so far. I'll explain that more later. Got news from Manchester United, Arsenal and West Ham with Dave Reed, Olivia Bazaglo and Sam Obaseki. But let's get straight to it with Manchester City, who've agreed a deal of £55.5 million with Rennes for winger Jeremy Doku. Right, Sam, how good is he?
Well, I think he's one of the most exciting wingers in the world right now, and that's a lot for a 21-year-old that's playing in League. And I think he's exactly what City need at the moment. You know, they've lost Mahrez, and over the years they've lost that directness. I think Pep did say last season that he wants more ball retention from his wide men. We've seen Grealish and Foden, we've seen Bernardo Silva play out wide as well. But with Doku, he's so direct, he's so electric, and his stats don't really complement the type of footballer he is. He's only scored 6 goals and had 2 assists in 29 appearances. But I think as he's got older and more matured, you're seeing a lot more output from him, and defenders really struggling to keep up with him. And I think he's going to be the perfect wide man for Pep's system, especially because now we're seeing a lot of teams. We've seen it in the last few years anyway with Pep, where teams just bank 2 banks of 4, very hard to break down at times. And I think he's the type of player that will make anything happen at any moment.
So why do they actually need a winger then, Dave?
Well, I think Manchester City have started the season with Kyle Walker playing mostly down the right-hand side. He's been offering the most width. He played the most width. He had the most width against Newcastle United. They've obviously lost Riyad Mahrez. They've obviously got Cole Palmer still in the squad. But I think from Jeremy Doku's point of view, he's come into a team where he is going to get opportunities in the first team. That's firstly good for him. And he's an absolute dribbling machine, isn't he? He is so good on the ball. He's right-footed, but he's also very good on his left foot, so he can play either side for Pep Guardiola and Manchester City. So from Pep's point of view, he gets a little bit of versatility. He made his debut for Anderlecht at 16. And this just shows, I mean, Sam mentioned his goals and assists there, but his successful take-ons absolutely through the roof. And obviously dribbles per game higher than both Mahrez and Grealish. That just shows how good he is on the ball and taking on players. Made his debut for Anderlecht at 16. Similar kind of coming through the ranks like Romelu Lukaku and Yuri Tielemans at Anderlecht. Played with Vincent Kompany. I wonder whether Pep Guardiola picked up the phone to Vincent Kompany and said, look, how good is he? How good can he be? And he was picked for the Euros, and he was a bit of a wild card, really, for Belgium in the European Championships a couple of years ago. And he was very good on the ball, very good at taking on players, but his end product wasn't quite there. He has improved since then.
Yeah, he played in the World Cup as well. He only played, I think, the last 18 minutes against Croatia, the game that they went out. But I think a lot of Belgian fans were calling for him to be played because, like I said, he's one of those players that he's very unpredictable, he's very raw, but when he gets at defences, anything can happen. And I think for Pep's system now, I think only Vinicius Jr. and Lionel Messi had more dribbles than him last season. That is exactly the type of player that you want to, you know, almost build on it and say, you know, we've got Alvarez, we've got Haaland, they've got quite a few youngsters in their team that can become world beaters, and I think he can definitely fit into that mould.
Even, you know, a lot of the top clubs have had Doku on their list for quite a long time.
Chelsea were linked with him at one point.
I think The Guardian even reported that just before he turned 16, he visited Liverpool, met the manager, met some of the players as well, and Liverpool were really excited by him and wanted to sign him even at such a young age. So he's been on the radar for a long time with these top clubs.
Olivia, just recap Manchester City's summer transfer business so far.
Yeah, they brought in Mateo Kovacic, obviously Premier League experience. We know what he offers. Josko Gvardiol, one of the most exciting young centre-backs in world football. Of course, they did sell Mahrez, Gundogan left on a free. They obviously sold a lot of youngsters as well for around the £10-15 million mark, and that's where it's added up. Now, I still think that they need a midfielder that contributes goals. Now, they've lost 21 goals and 38 assists. That's with Kevin De Bruyne being injured out for however long he's out for, a couple of months, 3 or 4 months, and Gundogan leaving. So I still feel like they need that to add to their squad.
You don't think Foden could step up?
Maybe, but we haven't seen that yet enough from Phil Foden. He might be the player. I mean, he played so brilliantly in midfield against Newcastle. That performance was so good. But we're still yet to see whether he can, because Gundo, in those big moments, he was so clutch. He was like that player for Manchester City last season, even seasons before that as well. And I think they'll miss him so much. Obviously, we know what they'll miss with KDB for those few months. But I think in terms of Manchester City's business, the fact they've got youngsters out for 10-15 million, and quite a few of them, it means their net spend is only around 70 million this summer, which is less than Chelsea, Arsenal, Manchester City and Newcastle. And I think they've bought smart. They've bought players in areas which I think everyone here and probably people at home will be sitting and thinking, perhaps they needed those players. And I think they've done some really smart business this summer.
And if you think about it, Dave, we were talking about this last week when it comes to net spend. You've got to sell well as buy well.
Manchester City have always been good at selling players at the right time, for the most part anyway. They, you know, have brought through players that they've been able to loan out and then make some money on sales. So Manchester City have been very, very good at selling players at the right time as well, when their stock is at their highest.
Yeah. OK, well, let's find out more about Doku then, because joining us live now is French football expert Tom Williams. Tom, good morning to you. We know that this is a big fee, but is he worth it?
Good morning, guys. I mean, that's the big question, isn't it? It is a lot of money for a young player who's still in the early stages of his career. But in terms of raw materials, you have everything you could possibly want from an attacking player. As the guys have been saying, Jeremy Doku is absolutely rapid, beats players for fun. His stats in terms of goals and assists aren't quite where they could be, where they should be. But under a coach like Pep Guardiola, you know, you'd think that he's only going to get better. So, yeah, almost limitless potential, a lot of money, but you can understand why City have decided that he's the guy they want to bring in.
There's no doubt that Guardiola and the recruitment team will have done their due diligence on the player. How does he fit in to City's style of play? What can the fans expect from him?
Yeah, I mean, he's a different kind of attacking player to the players that Guardiola's currently got at his disposal. You know, very quick, a bit of a throwback winger in a way. Can play on the left, can play on the right. My suspicion is that City are signing him to play more on the right than on the left. And as a predominantly right-footed player, he's someone who isn't necessarily, you know, cutting infield, heading into the penalty area, although he can do that. He's more about sort of beating a fullback on the outside, getting to the byline. And I guess his job in that respect will be supplying City's other attacking players with those cutbacks that Pep Guardiola loves so much. So he'd bring a pace and a directness and a dribbling ability that I don't think City really have in their squad currently. I mean, not since Raheem Sterling. I don't think they've had a player who combines that pace with that explosive dribbling ability. And Guardiola's always loved dribblers. You know, he's spoken in the past about how valuable it is to have in your squad, you know, players who are capable of just producing something out of nothing. And you know, Jeremy Doku is absolutely one of those sorts of players.
Yeah, I was going to make the point that he does sound more like Sterling than he does like Mahrez, who I suppose Mahrez was playing on the right last season. He'd probably be filling in that position, but he does sound more like Sterling. Do you think he'll need a lot of time to adapt to this league? Because the kind of player like that seems to suit the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, he's got everything that you'd want for an attacking player arriving in the Premier League. I don't think the pace of the Premier League will be a problem for him, and it may be something that he takes a bit of time to adapt to. I don't think the physicality will be an issue because he is, he's quite a stocky little player. He sort of bounces off defenders with ease. But as we've seen so many times in the past, it does take time for players to get to grips with the kind of football that Guardiola likes his teams to play. I think particularly attacking players. So I'd be surprised if Doku walked straight into the starting 11. But then I think given his age and given the amount of experience he has, I'm not sure that would be his expectation in the first place. So he's probably going to be eased in gently, perhaps used as an impact player initially. But I think, the most striking thing about Doku when you watch him is just how much fun he is. Unless you're an opposition fullback or an opposition manager, he's someone who's just great to watch. Really gets people on the edges of their seats, and it may take him a little bit of time to find his feet. But I think City fans are going to have a lot of fun watching him.
Away from Doku, let's talk about Jonathan David, because his name comes up in transfer windows, and there are some reports linking him with a move to the Premier League.
Yeah, Jonathan David, a striker who seems to have been linked with the big Premier League clubs, pretty much every summer and every winter for the last few years, but is still at Lille. He was one of the key players in their Ligue 1 title win in 2020-21. He's one of the few players from that team who's still there. Most of the players from that squad have been sold on. The expectation all along has been that David will leave at some point. He won't come cheap. He's proven himself in Ligue 1 these last 3 seasons. He's scored more goals year on year in each of those 3 seasons. Got 24 in Ligue 1 last season, so he's behind only Kylian Mbappe and Alexandre Lacazette. But as things stand, he's still a Lille player, and Paulo Fonseca, the Lille coach, was speaking about him recently and said that the club haven't had offers for him, and that as things stand, they're preparing to go into the season with him. But at the same time, as we all know, sometimes it only takes the first domino to fall in the transfer market when it comes to strikers, and suddenly you get strikers moving all over the place. So probably want to keep an eye on. Yeah,
we'll be back with you in just 1 second. We've just got an update on Jeremy Doku, actually. He's expected to travel to the northwest today to have a medical to complete that £55 million move to Manchester City from Rennes. That news just into us. So this Doku deal is actually moving very fast. Pep Guardiola has identified who he wants, and they are just getting on with it. One more question for you about Marco Verratti. His future remains unclear. Is there any chance he could come to the Premier League?
He's available, Marco Verratti. He's one of PSG's many undesirable players, along with Keylor Navas and Giorgio Wijnaldum and all the rest of them who are sort of training separately from the rest of the squad. The group of players that Kylian Mbappe was in up until his recent reintegration into the first team squad. We know that there have been bids received from Al Hilal in Saudi Arabia that PSG have rejected. He doesn't appear to have a future at PSG. He's not featured in either of their first 2 league games, and we know that PSG are really keen to sort of move away from their sort of recent Galacticos era, with Lionel Messi moving on and Neymar moving on, and Mbappe having been put on the naughty step for a little bit. So, I think PSG are open to offer. The question is, are any clubs out there prepared to pay the amount of money that PSG would be looking for, and get Verratti out of PSG and back onto a football pitch.
Tom, great to speak to you. Thank you.
Pleasure. Thanks very much.
Let's just recap on that developing news that we've heard. Jeremy Doku is now travelling. He's expected to travel to the northwest today to have a medical at Manchester City. That deal will be £55 million from Rennes to Manchester City. And just quickly, we're going to be later on talking about our top 10 signings of the window so far with me and the panel. We want to hear from you. Hashtag Transfer Talk. If you can't be bothered to give your top 10 best signings, give us your top 3, your top 1, your top 5, whatever. But get in touch. We'll be talking about that a bit later on. Hashtag Transfer Talk. Coming up, Declan Rice impresses for Arsenal last night. We'll discuss that and have news on potential outgoings at the Emirates next.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
Avoid online trackers. Zen. Be more cyber zen. Get Nord VPN.
The new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Share, stream, and flip into action on the UK's best network.
Step out in my fit looking fresh. All of my crew like damn, that's a flex. Out making moves, and you know how we do. No cares in the world. Kick you back with the
Count on EE to save £240 and get Netflix on selected plans. Plus, when you trade in your old Samsung, you save an extra £576 in any condition.
Get next summer sorted with TUI. With free kids' places available even in the school summer holidays. Plus low deposits of just £25 per person. Or a £0 deposit when you spread the cost by direct debit. Next summer's holidays sorted. TUI. Live happy. Financially protected by Atoll.
Playing bingo at Tombola is about being part of our community and having fun. And to keep it fun, most of our players use our safe play tools to set their limits and stay in control.
I've got a weekly deposit limit just so I can keep within my own budget.
The app and the site just gives you so much support, like your limits and everything.
Keep it fun, chat with friends, and play safely at Tombola.
Formula One fans, get race ready at fanatics.co.uk with official team products shipped right to your door. Fanatics.co.uk, officially licensed everything.
Do you need to borrow money? Then you've come to the right place. Everyday Loans. Representative APR 99.9%. Apply now at everydayloans.co.uk.
At the Cotswold Company, we know your table hosts many memories. That's why we build our furniture to stand the test of time with traditional craftsmanship. Along with our beautiful range of tableware, glassware and accessories, you can bring your home to life with the perfect dining table. The Cotswold Company. Discover our range at your nearest store or at cotswoldco.com.
Switch your broadband at Uswitch and you could save £174. That put a spring in his step. Visit uswitch.com.
There's two things I love, rugby and teaching. You have to look after yourself before looking after anyone else, and that starts with self-care.
Upgrade to new Dove Men Advanced, 72-hour antiperspirant plus added moisturisers for confidence that lasts.
When I have a deodorant that protects me, I can be confident and ready to deliver what I need to for my players.
Upgrade to new Dove Men Advanced.
Summer's come and go, but you can still get great value plus net full fibre from $24.99 a month to make your broadband fuller, faster, more reliable. Oh, here we go. What a catch. Offer ends 6th of September. Search PlusNet Fibre now. That's a plus.
I've never seen such a horrific crime.
This is a robbery. Put your hands up!
Move in.
Cover me.
FBI!
Hands up!
You ready for this?
Go, go, go!
Take a look at this. You're gonna have to see it to believe it.
Want to bring this heinous attacker to justice. Nothing will ever be more important than the case we're about to receive.
An unmissable FBI lineup on Sky Witness.
Sky Max presents
The Classic Weekender.
It's going to be the usual mayhem.
one award-winning lineup.
We're professional thieves, aren't we?
3 days, 4 series, every banging episode.
Would anybody like a disco biscuit? Oh, go.
So cancel your plans next weekend and watch every episode of Brassic before the new series returns.
This is lovely.
We reserve the right to refuse entry to Carl Slater. Medical support provided by Dr. Chris.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
Welcome back to Good Morning Transfers. If you're just joining us, Jeremy Doku is expected to travel to the northwest today to have a medical and complete a £55 million move to Manchester City from Rennes. Now, it's been a busy transfer window for Arsenal, but could their focus turn to outgoings now? Let's get the fans' perspective and speak to broadcaster Harry Symeou. Harry, let's start with last night. I know that you were there. What did you make of the performance?
Yeah, it wasn't exactly vintage Arsenal. There was a lot that I think Arsenal can still improve on, but I think defensively they showed really great resilience. I think they came up really strong against adversity after losing Tomiyasu to that questionable second yellow card decision, I have to say that. But yeah, as I say, not classic Arsenal, but I think they dug in. It's a new system that Mikel Arteta is using. He's looking to invert the right-sided fullback now, whereas Arsenal last season were doing it from the left-hand side. And that's taken a little bit of getting used to different personnel. Thomas Partey playing a slightly different role. And we got to see, obviously, the best of Declan Rice playing in what I believe is his best position.
Well, with Rice, he's being praised for his performance. So far, it looks like money well spent.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a big fee, but, that's the market these days. And I think whenever you make a move with that type of transfer fee, there's going to be extra scrutiny, extra pressure. And I think it was always going to take Declan Rice a little bit of time just to find his feet at Arsenal because of how different the style is in comparison to what he was used to at West Ham United. But we've already seen him, even in this short space of time, play as a 6, play as an 8 at times as well, and do both of those jobs really, really well. Last night was the first real glimpse we got of the real Declan Rice, I think, at Arsenal in terms of how physical he was and how he used that dominance to be able to impact the game both defensively and offensively for Arsenal. So a really, really good signing and a really, really positive performance. That was the big takeaway from last night. Just how well Declan Rice played. I think that's the biggest positive.
The squad depth, is that good enough? Do you need any more players?
I think a lot of Arsenal fans would have told you 2-3 weeks ago that we could probably do with another right winger, somebody who's a specialist right winger. The squad does have extra wingers in it, the likes of Reece Nelson, who returned to the squad last night. People like Leandro Trossard, who aren't in the side at the moment. Emile Smith-Rowe can play in a wide position, as we've seen over the years. But I think things have changed since the injury to Jurrien Timber. Once we got that news, once we realised how severe it was and how long he was going to be out for, I think people's minds started turning to defensive recruitments. There's questions over Zinchenko's fitness. He's not been able to stay fit throughout his Arsenal career. There's been a lot of injury breakdowns, which has been a concern, obviously. Tomiyasu's the same as well. And obviously, Arsenal really felt the impact of losing William Saliba at the end of the last season. So I think there will be a want within the club to go out and bring in another defender, even if it is a short-term solution, even if it is a bit of a stopgap signing. But you just look at that back line now and you feel like we're an injury away from being back in the position that we were in last season. And ultimately, we weren't good enough in that department. So for me, the priority is to bring in a defender. Who that will be, I'm not sure. Whether it will be someone that is a right-back / centre-back like Jurrien Timber was. I don't know that you can always find someone as versatile as him who could play anywhere across the back line. So that's why that's a massive, massive blow.
Well, there's still 10.5 days to go. Harry, thank you.
Cheers.
It's another great performance by Declan Rice last night. Perhaps that price tag isn't having an effect on him. He was the most expensive British signing, but only for a few weeks before Moises Caicedo made his £155 million move to £15 million move to Chelsea.
Can't believe Caicedo's broken your record already, though, Declan. Can't be happy with that.
It didn't last long.
I had it up on the wall for 2 weeks. It's come down already.
They weren't laughing at me there. £115 million move from Moises Caicedo, but Sam, that Declan Rice laughing it off there. But does it actually take the pressure off a little bit that he is no longer the British record holder of that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it would be wrong to think that it doesn't affect players. Like we heard Jack Grealish talk about it when he was the most expensive player, how it affects what the fans expect from you. Not you so much or your manager, but at the same time, you're thinking, I have to perform every single game. But now I feel like subconsciously, you're just going to be like, I'm in a team that is settled. I'm playing in a system that makes sense for me. There's another expensive midfielder that has to fit into a whole new system. We saw what happened when Caicedo came on and all of the talks after of whether the cameo is worth the amount of money, like you're supposed to see that in one game. But it happens. And I think with football nowadays and how much these players are so connected to social media and the fans and seeing the price tag being branded with them forever. It's like I think it definitely affects them, whether they would like to admit or not.
I feel like it's in every topic of conversation. Like, whenever you talk about these players, like Jack Grealish last season, as you rightly said, Sam, when he was having not last season, sorry, the season before, when he had that slightly off season, every single person was talking about his price tag, and it's going to be the same with Declan Rice, and it's going to be the same with Moises Caicedo as well. And that's just something that I think they're professional footballers at the end of the day. They back themselves, they back their ability, they know why they've gone for that much money, I'm banking on Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo showing it over the next few years.
Yeah, for sure.
Could there be some departures from Arsenal?
Yeah, absolutely. We know that Arsenal have been in talks with Monaco over a deal for Folarin Balogun. They've already had one bid turned down. And Monaco now, at this point, considering whether to come back in with a second offer. The dialogue remains open between the two clubs. So talks ongoing over that. And Arsenal and Nicola Pepe is also one to keep an eye on. How will they negotiate that over the next 10 days or so? Will they get any interest? Will they get any offers? Or will they have to consider a cancellation of his contract? Also want to keep an eye on Nuno Tavares. He's considering all his options at the moment. Talks with Nottingham Forest on hold for now. They had been looking at him, so we'll see what happens with Nuno Tavares. But certainly potential outgoings over the next 10 days for Arsenal.
With Balogun, Olivia, is the price tag putting people off?
Yeah, I think so, because 22 goals and 3 assists in 39 games over in France last season, that's an unbelievable record for him. As Dave said, Monaco were interested, Chelsea were interested, I think, but I think they've already got a pretty sort of a less experienced, sort of less known striker in Nicholas Jackson. I can't really see them paying what Arsenal want for Balogun, but I can't really understand why other Premier League clubs aren't interested. And the only thing I can think of now is that price tag. He scored goals for fun. He deserves to be playing regular football, and it leaves him in a sticky position if Arsenal are expecting that much money for him and clubs aren't willing to pay that, then what does that mean for the player? You know, for someone that's had such a good season last season, he's gone elsewhere, he's proved himself on loan, he deserves to be playing regular football. And it feels like Mikel Arteta is opting for, you know, even Leandro Trossard, Kai Havertz, Eddie Nketiah, and even when Gabriel Jesus comes back, that's another player into the mix in his position. So, yeah, it leaves the player in a slightly tricky position that I think Arsenal were wanting so much money for him. But whether Arsenal will bring that down if they want to sell, then maybe. But I feel like he needs to go.
Well, talking of strikers, West Ham are interested in signing Sevilla forward Youssef En-Nesyri. Right, is he the type of striker they need, Dave?
He's the type of striker that West Ham have traditionally gone for under David Moyes. Scamacca aside, I think we've had the discussion before around West Ham maybe trying to alter and change their style of football as they move up the table, and had to kind of go back to what had worked for them last season, given the position in the league that they were in. But he's a player that West Ham were interested in January. We asked David Moyes about him in January, and he said, yes, he's a player that we like, but he's not one for this window. So he's someone that's been on the radar. It was a bit more difficult for them to do in January. He'd just come off the back of a really good World Cup with Morocco. Still had 2.5 years left on his contract at that point, and Sevilla were struggling at that point as well, at the wrong end of the La Liga table. So slightly more difficult back in January. Things may have changed a little bit now. We know that West Ham are very much interested and in for this player. I mean, Kevin Hatchard said yesterday he's terrific in the air. Kevin said he was the best header of a football in Europe. He scored a brilliant header in the Super Cup for Sevilla, which many people will have seen. And I think Opta came up with a stat that he'd scored almost a third of his goals with his head for Sevilla since he moved there. So it's obviously one of his key attributes. And what have West Ham got now? One of the best set-piece takers in the world, in Europe?
In the world, I would say.
In the world, yeah. Going worldwide.
I agree. I agree. West Ham could be signing another imposing figure as well. Konstantinos Mavropanos has completed his medical at West Ham. We're waiting news on that. He'll join for a fee that can rise to £19 million. Olivia, why do they need a centre-back?
I think they just want another player to get on the end of those James Ward-Prowse crosses because they are so unbelievable. We saw on the weekend, we know what James Ward-Prowse is about. But they've only really got Agerd, Zuma and Ogbonna. I'm not sure they can go into the Premier League season with Europa League football as well with just those three options at centre-back. We know Kehrer wasn't in the squad against Chelsea. He wasn't injured. So David Moyes just perhaps doesn't fancy him as a centre-back. I think he sees him as more of a right-back. We know they wanted Maguire, so we know they were in the market for a centre-back. That didn't happen. But it means they can play a 4, they can play a 3 with him as well. He can drop into a 3, Mavropanos. And like I say, I think at the moment it's just squad depth is what West Ham need. If they want to not be involved in a relegation battle again and want to go far in the Europa League, then they need to make additions. And I actually look at the additions they've made, and I don't think they've rushed it. We were talking about them running out of time, but I think they've been really clever. And James Ward-Prowse and Edson Alvarez, that's a brilliant midfield in replacement for Declan Rice. Yep. And I really, really like this signing as well, just to bolster their options at the back. And, you know, they're interested in Kudus, they're interested in other players as well. So I think West Ham have gone about their business brilliantly.
Yeah, well, they're not done there either because the club are not giving up on the signing of Ajax midfielder Mohammed Kudus. They've had an opening bid rejected, though. How important, Sam, would his versatility be?
I think it'd be amazing for West Ham. Like Liv said, I think they've actually had a pretty good window considering what we were saying at the start of the window when we were saying, are they going to replace Declan Rice? What are they going to do? Now they've signed Alvarez, they've signed Ward-Prowse, who's embedded into the squad perfectly as well. But with Kudus, I think he's one of those players that will also bring the best out of the players around him. When you look at the attacking midfielders and wingers that West Ham have, I think Bowen is probably their player that they rely on in terms of goals and assists. Fornals and Benrahma aren't really prolific goal scorers. He got 18 goals last season, 7 assists. He's already hit the ground running this season with a goal and assist for Ajax. And I think for the price that we're hearing, I think it would be a perfect signing for West Ham. I'm actually surprised that there's not other teams in and around Europe and in the Premier League that are looking at him and saying this would be a player that could bring a lot of competition to our team.
Do you not think that maybe why this move hasn't gone quickly is because maybe other teams may be interested and it's not just West Ham, maybe other teams are looking at him? Because to me, you know, he is brilliant and I think he could play for a lot of the, maybe not big six sides, but a lot of the biggest and best sides in the Premier League. I mean, for West Ham, it would be an absolutely brilliant signing, but I do think he could probably go one level above that.
I think he could kick on as well. But it just depends because what West Ham are doing and what they're building as well. With the signings, like you said, with Alvarez, Ward-Prowse, the defenders that they're linked with, they bring in Kudus. They've looked now like a team that can challenge in the Premier League in terms of, you know, getting those European spots again, but they're playing Europe again this season. They could play in the FA Cup, Carabao Cup and go further in those competitions. And he might be looking at, he's still very young. This might be a position for us to, you know, kick on in my career rather than making that step too far up and be sitting on the bench because minutes is more important than anything now.
Well, we're asking you for your top 10 signings of the window so far. Loads of you getting in touch already. We'll be discussing ours next. Use the hashtag TransferTalk to get involved. Had a few.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection. Playing bingo at Tombola is about being part of our community and having fun. And to keep it fun, most of our players use our safe play tools to set their limits and stay in control.
I've got a weekly deposit limit just so I can keep within my own budget.
The app and the site just gives you so much support, like your limits and everything.
Keep it fun, chat with friends and play safely at Tombola.
1 in 2 of us will get cancer in our lifetime. You hear about it everywhere, you see it. You don't actually feel it until it walks through those doors.
I said, are you trying to tell me that you think I have breast cancer?
Dad is Superman. Nothing can ever happen to Dad.
You never thought it's going to happen to you. Sorry.
Cancer's relentless, but so are we.
In the last 40 years, cancer survival has doubled in the UK.
We've helped to develop many of the world's leading cancer treatments.
Giving monthly allows us to commit to long-term cancer research projects.
If people didn't donate before, would I have got the kind of treatment that I got?
Research helped give me extra time with my family.
I want to be a scientist so I can do research to help people like Mummy.
Everyone has a part to play.
So play your part.
Please donate right now.
Please donate monthly at cruk.org/donate. And together we will beat cancer.
What's the point of rewards that aren't rewarding?
Sit.
Good girl.
Pick your own reward when you buy your car, home or van insurance at Confused.com.
Welcome to Tesco Mobile, where summer is fully loaded and so are our deals. Get the Samsung Galaxy A14 and a Galaxy Chromebook Go for just $19.99 a month with club card prices, saving you an incredible £180. That's a load more for a lot less. This is Supermarket Mobile. To switch, pop in store or search Tesco Mobile. Every little helps.
Welcome to the first ever National Lottery Draw. Tonight, someone could...
You dropped this. Thank you.
There it is. Oh, the ticket!
And the winning numbers are 10, 11.
What's wrong?
We've won and I've lost the ticket.
This ticket?
We won!
We've won!
There will be a wonderful gift for each and every one of you.
Enjoy more of the latest blockbusters than anywhere else on Sky Cinema.
The reigning champion.
Max Verstappen reigning supreme.
Back on home shores.
For me, it's definitely a very special weekend.
In a mission to make it 3 home wins in a row.
Double Dutch delight for Max Verstappen.
And with the sea of orange out in full force.
Turn up to the max. Listen to that roar.
Good luck trying to stop it.
See, you wouldn't want to be you, says Max. Yes, we are ready to go racing.
The Heineken Dutch Grand Prix, live on Sky Sports.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
10 days to go in the window, so we've picked out our top 10 signings so far. We want you to get involved. Hashtag transfer talk. And by the way, we've decided to go for Europe only. So if you're wondering why Lionel Messi isn't in there or any of the players who've gone out to Saudi Arabia, we've gone for Europe only to make it easier for you all. So here are the top 10. It's caused...
We didn't agree on the list.
No, we didn't.
No. We didn't agree on the list. We didn't agree on this.
It's meant to be done together.
Basically, what did me, Dave, and Sam gave our top 10. Olivia said, "I'm not having it. This is a top 10," and we said, "OK." So, shall we start in 10th place? And Dominic Szoboszlai, Dave.
Oh, he's been fantastic, hasn't he? Since signing for Liverpool, he was excellent in the game against Bournemouth. Ref watch aside. But no, I think he's fitted in nicely, and he's been asked to do a couple of different things as well by Jurgen Klopp. He spoke in the post-match as well, having been told to kind of play as a number 6, and he didn't really know what he was doing and was running forward, and he was saying Jurgen Klopp was shouting at him to kind of calm down a little bit. So, but I think he's settled in very, very well, showed all his skills against Bournemouth. Really excited to see how he goes this season.
Yeah, obviously we're expecting these to be the top 10 signings, aren't we? We're not judging them on just the first 2 games, obviously. Otherwise, Christopher Nkunku, who's injured, wouldn't be in there, Olivia, but you almost got me in a headlock in order to get him in there. I wanted James Ward-Prowse, you wanted Nkunku, we went for Nkunku.
James Ward-Prowse was never mentioned, by the way. Why are you lying?
I want Ward-Prowse.
No, I just thought if we're going to do it on top 10 signings, just because he's picked up an injury doesn't necessarily mean he's not a good signing. I think he will be a brilliant signing for Chelsea. We saw glimpses in pre-season. Again, what he went for in this market, considering what other players are going for. He had to be in there for me. He had to be.
Sam, I should go to you next, but I think I should go back to you for Dave on our number 8, Moussa Diaby.
I just think value for money as well. I think he will prove to be an excellent signing. He's already scored. Probably should have scored against Everton, but for a great save from Jordan Pickford, and I think he will prove to be a very, very good signing, and just fits really perfectly with what Unai Emery tries to do at Aston Villa in that position just off Ollie Watkins. So I think he'll be excellent.
I'll read a couple out that came in before the break. Ben has got top 5. He's got Sandro Tonali as number 1. He's got Moussa Diaby 2nd. James Ward-Prowse, well done, Ben, in 3rd. Dominic Szoboszlai in 4th, and he's got Harvey Barnes 5th. He's got 2 Newcastle. He's got 2 Newcastle players in there. I've clicked on his profile. He's a Newcastle fan, so he might be a bit biased, but still, I like that. We've got Mr. Speaker, who's got Declan Rice at number 1, Moise Caicedo at 2, James Maddison 3, James Ward-Prowse, well done, at 4, Christopher Nkunku 5, and he's done a top 6, actually. He's gone with Jurrien Timber at 6. Same kind of thing as Nkunku, who's got injured early on, but of course he could end up being a brilliant signing. So at number 7, we had Sandro Tonali, Sam.
Yeah, I think he's been an amazing signing. I don't know if anyone expected him to have the impact that he is having on this Newcastle squad. Obviously, we saw what he done for AC, but at the same time, because of the rumours around him not necessarily wanting to leave, people didn't know whether it was going to take him a few more games to, you know, get used to the Premier League, get used to Newcastle as well. But he looks incredible. Obviously, the second game against City was tough. It's going to be tough regardless, but he did give 100%. I think he actually could be higher up on that list in terms of value for money and the age and everything that you're going to get, because at the time, I think it was £55 million for a 23-year-old midfielder that is got European experience winning the league as well. That is a good price. I also think a few others should change, but I didn't really have a say.
Can we just stop acting like this was my list? Because it actually wasn't my list. It was a group decision. Tom?
Yeah.
You're the one that wrote it down.
Yeah, Tom wrote it.
If you say so. If you say so. We had a few more. Thinking outside the box, Sam Wilson, I like this one. Although he's got Declan Rice at number 1, he's gone for an EFL one, actually. He's gone with Barley Mumba to Plymouth at number 2. He's got Amada at Amde, Gassan Amde, who's gone on loan from Ipswich to Cambridge. He's gone for David McGoldrick as well, who's gone to Notts County. He's had a good start there as well. And Chuba Akpom from the EFL. From the EFL out to Ajax. That's a good shout as well. So thinking outside the box. And another one coming from Craig. He's got Josko Gvardiol at number 1, Declan Rice at 2, Tonali 3, Diaby 4, and Harvey Barnes at 5. But we've gone for Gvardiol at 6, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, he slotted in seamlessly, didn't he, against Newcastle? It was like he'd been there for 5 or 6 years. He was that good, and he's a player who seems like he's been around forever, but he's still so young at the same time. And I think he will prove to be a terrific signing for Manchester City. And he's already, you know, probably one of the best defenders in Europe, even before the move. So now I think, you know, he deserves to be in that top 10.
Yeah.
So we now get into the top 5, though. James Maddison, Sam.
I actually think he should be top. And the reason I say that is because of the price. Honestly.
Yeah, I'm with Sam.
James Maddison, I said it at the start, when he signed for Spurs, I said that in terms of the price that you're getting for him, the quality that he has, his creative output, the leadership, the personality, on top of the fact that they're going to lose a player like Harry Kane, I think James Maddison is the perfect player to almost reinvigorate a team that has lost their best player, lost their top goal scorer, and he's been that player for them. In the first 2 games, he's been incredible, and I think he's been at the heart of everything Spurs. And if they do make it into the Champions League or the Europa League, he's going to be a big reason for that.
I don't disagree with anything you've said, apart from the fact he should be number 1.
But
because of who we've put for number 1.
But 40 million for
it's
a player like James Maddison,
money.
that is incredible.
But I think over the years, Jude Bellingham will be worth more for 100 mil than what James Maddison will be for 40.
I say top 3 then, maybe.
Yeah.
I'll keep Jude top. I'll keep Jude top because he deserves to be there.
Backtracks quickly there.
Look at how easy we cave in when the box tells us to cave in. Moise Caicedo, Olivia, that one's definitely for you.
Yeah, I think he had to be in the top 5. We're sort of... Let's just overlook the 30 minutes because we know what Moises Caicedo is about. We know what he offers. Again, like I said about Jude Bellingham, I firmly believe that he'll be worth every penny of what Chelsea played for him, purely for his age as well, what he's already done, what I believe he'll go on to do. So I put Moises Caicedo in there, and I think I think the price is probably the only reason why people might be put off from putting him in that top 3. But he had to be in there for me. I think he's a brilliant signing and exactly what Chelsea need.
Yeah.
We are into the top 3, and we have gone for, at 3rd place, Olivia, it's someone leaving the Premier League in Harry Kane.
Yeah, I actually wanted to put him first, but I think after we spoke about it, Jude Bellingham, I think, had to be number 1. But he finally got his move. One of the greatest players we've ever seen in the Premier League, one of the greatest strikers we've ever seen in the Premier League. I think he probably would have overtaken Alan Shearer had he stayed in the Premier League, but he deserved his big move to Bayern Munich. And Kev Hatchard spoke about him. He obviously did comms on his debut and just said he was absolutely brilliant. It was typical Harry Kane, and we had no doubts he was going to go and do it in the Bundesliga, and he's going to score so many goals there.
Elite strikers don't come on the market very often.
No.
And for credit to Bayern Munich for doing the deal, he's going to score a bag load of goals over there in the Bundesliga.
More than he scored in the Premier League. Because I think
100%.
we overlook it because Haaland scored so many last season. Harry Kane, for the last 4 or 5 seasons, has scored over 20 goals pretty much. And it's just been ridiculous. But I think...
There are fewer games, there's fewer teams in Bundesliga, so he's got... His goals per game might end up being better, but he should really score fewer goals because there's fewer games for that reason only. Number 2, I'll go to you, Sam.
Declan Rice. Declan Rice, he deserves it. He was definitely going to be in my top 5. I don't know if I would put him second just because of the price, but my mindset in this was a bit different to everyone else's, but I think he's been an incredible signing for Arsenal. I said that he's a transformative signing as well. He would have been for any team that he'd gone to in the Premier League. His attitude, his mentality, and his willingness to learn. He's spoken in all the interviews that he's had since joining Arsenal and said how hard it was for him to integrate into a system where it seems so difficult in a sense. It's similar to Pep Guardiola's system, how it takes a while for players to understand, but he's going to be one of the best midfielders for at least the next 5 to 10 years. So, yeah, great signing.
OK, that takes us to our number 1.
That we all agreed on.
Which we will give
Even Sam.
Yeah, we did.
You run out of words for him, though, don't you, Jude Bellingham?
Yeah.
He's so good.
He's already one of their main... I saw Vinicius Junior copying his celebration after he had assisted him. I was just like, this guy is already big time.
I've never seen someone fit into such a big team so quickly. You know, Real Madrid are arguably the toughest in terms of the standards they set. And Jude Bellingham, at how young he is, has just come into that midfield and just absolutely owned it, like we knew he would. But it's still such a step up. You know, no disrespect to Borussia Dortmund, but Real Madrid is a step up for everyone. No matter where you go from, it's a huge step up. And he has just gone in there and gone, don't worry about it.
And the competition as well to get into that Real Madrid team, it's not easy. Obviously, they paid the price that they did, but they paid a lot for Tchouaméni, and he was sitting on the bench for a while. Kroos and Modric seems to be irreplaceable. And on top of what Kroos said about, Hazard's time and saying it's not that easy to come into this squad, he's taken it in his stride, and he looks so comfortable. He's already riling up opposing fans as well. He's going to be incredible for them.
His brother's not too bad either.
Yeah, don't worry, Tom.
Tom wanted to put him on this list, which
when we said Bellingham, he said which one. So
I promised not to mention him, but was a dilemma as to which one to put at number 1. Right, Riley's been in touch. He's got number 1. Rice, then Nkunku, Bellingham. Don't know which one. Maddison, Ward-Prowse, Jurriën Timber, Chuba Akpom again, Harry Kane, Diaby, and Max Aarons at number 10. And finally, we're going to hear from this guy in a moment as well, but someone called Cool Amazing Boy says top 7 he's gone for. Rice at number 1, Nicholas Jackson number 2. I think autocorrect might have been involved in this one because he's gone tonality. I think it's Tonali, Moises Caicedo, Romeo Lavia, Moussa Diaby and Edson Alvarez. Right, just an update to bring you from West Ham. They've got a broad agreement with all aspects of the Konstantinos Mavropanos contract, and a formal announcement of his signing could come in the next 24 hours. That's a £19 million deal from Stuttgart. It will be a 5-year deal. Now, I said that guy called Cool Amazing Boy, he's been in touch on social media to ask what's the news from Manchester United. Well, we will let you know after the break.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
Summer's come and go, but you can still get great value plus net full fibre from $24.99 a month to make your broadband fuller, faster, more reliable. And here we go. What a catch. Offer ends 6th of September. Search PlusNet Fibre now. That's a plus.
The new Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5. Share, stream, and flip into action on the UK's best network.
Step out in my fit, looking fresh. All of my crew like down at the flex. Out making moves moves, yeah, you know how we do. No cares in the world, kick you back with the...
Count on EE to save £240 and get Netflix on selected plans. Plus, when you trade in your old Samsung, you save an extra £576 in any condition.
Get next summer sorted with TUI. With free kids' places available even in the school summer holidays. Plus low deposits of just £25 per person. Or a £0 deposit when you spread the cost by direct debit. Next summer's holidays sorted. TUI. Live happy. Financially protected by Atoll.
Whatever you need to ask about cancer, Macmillan's free support line is just a call away.
Hello, Macmillan.
Whether it's money or work worries.
Am I going to lose my job?
Getting on with life.
Can I still go abroad? Get insurance?
Or just need someone to listen.
How do I tell them?
Our specialist advisors are here to help as often as you need them. Whatever you need to ask, cancer, work, money, life, call us now on 0808 134 3000.
Easy. Smart charging for electric cars.
Switch to a SIM-only deal from your 24-month contract and you could save £335. Now that's worth celebrating. Visit uswitch.com.
The one and only Premier League continues this weekend. Don't miss any of the action. Live on Sky Sports.
Sky Max presents
The Classic Weekender.
It's going to be the usual mayhem.
one award-winning lineup.
We're professional thieves, aren't we?
3 days. 4 series. So cancel your plans next weekend and watch every episode of Brassic before the new series returns.
This is lovely.
We reserve the right to refuse entry to Carl Slater. Medical support provided by Dr. Chris.
Sky Sports News, sponsored by Shaw Non-Stop Protection.
To Manchester United, who could still sign a goalkeeper if Dean Henderson leaves the club. Crystal Palace has emerged as a potential destination. Manchester United are understood to be looking at Benfica goalkeeper Odysseus Vlachodimos. The Greek international still has 4 years left on his contract, though. Dave, when it comes to selling Dean Henderson, why would Manchester United do that?
I think financially for Manchester United, they need to bring money into the club. So from that point of view, it's something that Manchester United will consider. I think also there's a level of respect there between the club and the player, as someone who's come through at Manchester United, that they respect that he needs to play football. And with Andre Onana being there as the undisputed number one, it means that Dean Henderson's minutes are going to be limited at best. So from Manchester United's point of view, though, they want to extract the biggest fee they can. And from their perspective, he's an England international, still with 2 years left to run in his contract. So they need to bring money in, but they don't want to sell him on the cheap. And we've seen with Harry Maguire that they're not really very easy in terms of, well, not necessarily a negotiating position, but, you know, there's disputes between the player and United in terms of money owed and things like that, and Champions League money and bonuses and things. So United don't want to let players go on the cheap. And that is where things might become slightly more difficult for Dean Henderson.
And because we've been talking about this, Olivia, haven't we? Maybe it is simply they might let him go because Henderson will want to be in that England squad, which if he can't oust Andre Onana and he stays at Manchester United, that's not going to happen.
No, it's a really sticky situation for any goalkeeper like that to be in, because Manchester United have spent money on Andre Onana and he's come in and actually been really impressive, albeit he's made a couple of rash decisions here and there, but overall he's made some really big saves, and I think he's almost like cemented his sort of place as Manchester United's number one already, which leaves Dean Henderson in a sticky situation. And I think the best thing that can happen now is if Manchester United let him go. He wants to go. I think we're forgetting how good a keeper Dean Henderson is, because we haven't seen him play consistently for ages. He's a very, very good keeper, and he would be a good coup for another Premier League team. But if Manchester United aren't going to let him go, then he's just going to be sitting on the bench doing what? Maybe playing in the Carabao Cup? I'm just not sure that's fair.
Well, the bulk of Manchester United's incoming transfer business, we believe, is done. Their three primary targets of Mason Mount, Rasmus Højlund, Andre Onana, they're all through the door and they've been there for a while. So the focus does remain on departures, we understand. Sam, so who could go?
I was actually surprised when I looked at Manchester United squad at some of the players that were still there, because at the start of the window, Eric Bailly was linked with a few moves away. He's still somehow still at the club and nothing's materialised with him. Brandon Williams, who's had a few loan spells out of Manchester United, is probably now third or fourth choice at left back. So I think he's probably going to want to get minutes elsewhere. But again, is it going to be a loan? Is it going to be a fee? Pellistri is someone that is on the tongue of all of United's fans, because they genuinely want him to start more games, especially with Ante not really performing as they would want him to. But I think he wants minutes, so it's going to be, I'm not really sure. There's obviously Maguire, Scott McTominay, these players that have now been linked with moves away, but nothing's materialised. They've got a lot of those players that nothing's really happened. So we're going to have to wait and see what the last few weeks have.
I've got some breaking news from Southampton, because they've made a £10 million offer to Swansea for their defender, Nathan Wood. The initial payment would be £7 million and the other £3 would be on performance-related add-ons. He's a 21-year-old defender. Now, he was signed by Russell Martin, who this time last year was in charge of Swansea, of course, last summer for £250,000, OK, when Martin was at Swansea. Now Martin is, of course, at Southampton. He made 40 appearances last season in the Championship, but Southampton now are offering £10 million, £7 million guaranteed, with another 3 in add-ons. So some news there from the Championship. Southampton are in for Nathan Wood. Right, OK, Good Morning Transfers is back at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning, with only 10 days left in the window. Transfer Talk returns at midday with this team here, and also Mina Rizuki and Nikki Bandini. And there's the Transfer Show at the usual times of 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. still to come tonight. The Football Show is next. They'll be reacting to the Monday Night Football as Arsenal beat Crystal Palace.